Hello everyone, I just want to take a minute and walk you through the administration of the Phonics screener, some tips and tricks. So to start off, for kindergarten and first grade, start with the letter names and then move to sounds and then progress to the word reading. You're going to have them read the words until they read 50% of the words in each list incorrectly. So it doesn't matter how well or how poorly they do with the sentences. If they get to the point where they're reading less than half of the words correctly, they're done. They've reached their frustration level. For second grade, start with letter sounds and then progress to the words and the sentences. For third grade and up, start with the blends and then progress through the words and the sentences again until they reach that 50% frustration level. If you have a student who is significantly behind, so if you have a third grader who is significantly behind, or anybody older than that, right? Or if you're working with an English language learner, you're going to want to start sooner in that progression, right? So I know specifically one of you is working with an English language learner who is in 5th grade, I believe it is. You might actually want to start with sounds with her, just to see if she's got those letter sound correspondences down, and then move on from there, right? And part of the reason I start with the blends with the third graders is to kind of set them up for a little bit of success, right? Because those are some pretty simple words that they're reading. So once they get through those blends, they at least feel like, they didn't start this test not having experienced any success, right? Okay, so for the actual administration of the test, you're gonna wanna be in a one-on-one situation. If you can be in a room that's distraction-free, no other students in it, no noises or anything, that's ideal, right? Please don't put yourself in a situation where you are alone with a child with all the doors shut, where no other adult can see what you're doing. That's not a good situation for you to be in. It might be an ideal testing situation, but that's not a situation you want to put yourself in. But distraction-free is your best bet. The teacher copy, when you're watching the video, the teacher copy was in front of me. That's what I was writing on. And then the student copy was in front of her. Because I do this so frequently, I have mine in plastic sleeves. And then I have one of those rings hooked to the plastic sleeve so I can just flip through it. And it makes it a lot easier to run the 3x5 card down the page. And it doesn't get like all crumply and gross. But if you're only going to do this one time, just, go for simplicity's sake, just make sure that you've got those pages in the right order, so that as you're going through the administration of the test, you don't have to figure out what page you're supposed to be on. As you're moving that 3x5 card down the page, go one word at a time, one sentence at a time. Give yourself time to note errors, right? So since I do this so often, I usually can note errors and maintain whatever pace the student has set for themselves. If you can't, don't. It's more important that you actually note their errors than it is that you allow them to maintain their own pace. Because once you get through 5 or 6 word lists, you're not going to remember what they said on list number 1, right? So you want to make sure that you note those errors as soon as you can. You'll see me in the video at the very beginning. She actually went to start reading and I forgot, and I told her that they're not real words, right? So these are nonsense words. The word lists are nonsense words. The sentences are real words, obviously, because you can't write a sentence using nonsense words unless you're Dr. Seuss, which I am not. So I always preface the test by telling my students that they're nonsense words or they're not real words. Because if not, they try to make them into real words, which then doesn't give you an accurate indication of what they can do. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes over here on my computer. Last thing, don't tell the student if they're right or wrong. There are some spots in there where I was giving her a little bit of verbal feedback, like, hey, yeah, good job, babe, or let's move on here, or good work. But don't tell them if they're right or wrong. And try to kind of keep your verbal affirmations to a minimum, so that you're not interfering with, their ability to think. And obviously don't have conversations in the middle of the administration of the test. If they have questions about something that's unrelated to the test, just tell them to hold on to it and you guys can talk about it after the fact. at the beginning, when you go to administer this test, some kids will ask you, why are we doing this, right? So I always tell them that this is my way of figuring out what they know and can do, and then that helps me help them, right? So if I know what they know and can do, then it gives me a better idea of what I need to teach them in order for them to be more successful readers. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. I know this is kind of complicated, but I promise that you will learn a lot by doing this. And obviously, the more times that you do it, the easier it gets. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions.